Alright, in this video today I'm going to show you how to take a website like this made in Adobe Illustrator and bring it into Photoshop and then export it as an HTML document along with the images. Now, if yours is already in PSD form or it's already in Photoshop, just ignore the first few seconds. But otherwise, you should just save this. And when you save as, you really just want to keep it in an Illustrator file. So you don't really have to do anything with it, okay? It's just that when you bring it into Photoshop then, when you go to File, Open, there's going to be it's going to say .ai, and as long as you're on all formats, you should be able to open an Illustrator file right into Photoshop. And what it's going to do, it's going to break it down into, or it's going to flatten it to a single image. What I'm going to do is change my resolution to 72 though pixels an inch. All right, and then it should, everything else should be set. And I'm going to name this one, I'm going to call it Welcome. All right, and I'm going to hit OK. And all right, so here's my welcome page, and right now it's just a single flat layer, and if I zoom into 100%, it looks, this is 67%. If I zoom into 100%, you can actually see everything isn't pixelated at all, and it should look pretty good. All right, images and text, whatever else. Okay, now what I'm going to need to do is slice this image up. Actually, let me zoom out so you can see what happens when I do. So you can hold down this little cropping tool, click on Slice tool, and I'm going to highlight Welcome. All right, and you can see now the image is cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different images, and it needs to do that because pixels are square, so they need to form square objects. It can't be one layer and then a second layer like this. It doesn't work like that with HTML and regular images. So then what I want to do is cut up the rest, and every time I cut this, it's going to make more boxes to form around the box that I make. So here's portfolio. You can see now there's 9 images, and then I'm going to go around my services. There's 11 images, and one more time, there's 13 images now, but we only really concerned with the 1, 2, 3, and 4 images right here. Now, if your website has some flat objects in it, meaning, or just a solid color, you may want to take just the image itself. So like I can grab, I'm going to make a box around this image right here, okay? And I'll explain why in a second. So after I do this, if it's all cut up the way I want, then what I can do is go to File, Save for Web, and when I do that, you'll see if I zoom out here, if I click on the different boxes, it'll say up here the preset for it. It'll try to find out what's the best looking thing. Now, mine is actually all high quality JPEGs to begin with, so it's going to maintain the preset as JPEG high. But let's say this square right here was just flat, it was just black or gray or whatever else. It's not going to be JPEG, it's probably going to be a GIF. All right, and it's going to do that because it's going to look, it doesn't need to be a GIF or a JPEG. A GIF is, it's basically an image file, but it saves it in a lower, I don't want to say lower resolution, but lower quality. It's going to load faster because the image is smaller, okay? But what's important for this though is just realize, let's say you have only one image on here. What you want to do is just make sure that's on JPEG. But if you don't have any images, it's all graphics, it doesn't really matter what it is. As you know, if it's GIFs, it's going to save some room. But let's not worry about that. So I'm going to click on I'm going to double click on my welcome here, and for the name, just leave that alone. You could name it, but I'm not going to, because here's why. Well, you'll see why later. So the URL, though, I'm going to call this welcome.html. Okay, that is where it's going to go if I click on it. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the rest of these. I'm going to double click on portfolio here, and I'm going to say portfolio. Hit OK, and here's services and services.html, and I'm doing this because that way when it's clicked on, it knows where to go. Okay, and contact.html, and hit OK there. All right, so basically, because what it's going to do is it's going to save all these images, but also it's going to save an HTML document. All right, so if I hit done, this just goes away. I can make changes still and come back. I can change my slices, whatever else. But if I truly am done, save for web, and then I will click on save. Okay. And right now, I do want to say too, you can change the image size at this point. If it ends up being too wide, you can just resize it right here. But I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to create, and this actually shouldn't be here yet because I did this demonstration just a minute ago. But I'm going to create a folder called website on my desktop. So if I'm on my desktop, I can just right click in here and create new folder and then choose website. I already have mine here though, so I'm just going to double click on that. Okay, so this one is going to be called, I'm just going to call this welcome.html. Okay, and you want to make sure the HTML and images are turned on. That way, not only the images will be saved, like Adobe Illustrator, it only saves the images, but in Photoshop, it will save an HTML document with it, and that's what we need. So it's going to be called welcome.html. I hit save, and it's going to take a second, but it will save all of it. Okay, and now if we look at my desktop here, here's website. And inside there, here's a welcome page. And I do want to show you, if I click on images, it shows all these images in here, okay? Which is great. So, you know, it basically broken into the images it said. So it broken into 17 different images. And now the HTML document is going to take these images and place them on the page so they're all connected and they look like a web page. So if I double click on welcome, it's going to open up in Adobe or Internet Explorer or whatever other browser you have for default. And here it is. So if I zoom out, ooh, something happened here. There's a line. I've never seen that before. Hopefully it's just a fluke and doesn't happen again. But if I look at this and I click on welcome, it goes to my welcome page, because up here I told it to go to welcome.html. Now if I click on portfolio, it goes to portfolio.html. However, it does not exist yet. So if I were to go back into Illustrator here, or Photoshop, sorry, and let's say I wanted separate pages, so let's say this is not the welcome page, okay? However, you know, and again, I would want to, you know, not save these slices and go back to, you know, changing this page however I want in Illustrator or in Photoshop. But let's say, no, this one really is the portfolio page, all right? And I save it like that, okay? Now, if I were to export this one, I'm going to do save for web. And for this one, though, I'm going to keep everything the same, okay? And I could probably try to find out why that line's there, but I've never seen it before, so I'm not going to worry about it. Then I'm going to hit save. And this is not the welcome page. This is now the portfolio page. .html, and I hit save. Now, this spacer thing is in there. And I wonder if that's that line that got in there, but I'm just going to hit replace. But you'll see, if as long as I didn't change the names. Now, if I go to images, you see this little picture here? It's also here. So right here in portfolio, there's one called portfolio03.jpg, and this one's welcome03.jpg, okay? So I could make changes, and it's going to save separate images for these two HTML pages. So if I click on welcome now, here it is, and if I click on portfolio, uh-oh, it didn't work. What did I do wrong? So let's go back to the website here, and portfolio, and portfolio, and it's not actually going to .html. If I were to actually go up here and type in .html, it'll actually then go to it. See, portfolio. If I click on welcome, it goes to the welcome page. So what I would need to do then is go find out what happened to the slice. So if I go to save for web, and I double click on that portfolio, look, I did not actually type in .html. If I miss that, it's going to mess it up, okay? But you're probably not going to make the mistake. Hopefully you named it right. But basically, when you do save for web, though, you got to say .html or it will not save that way. I think I did it for the rest of them, yeah. As long as you have .html, you're all set. So now if I'm looking at this, here's my welcome page. I click on portfolio, and you can see when I click on it, that .html is not there. But if it were, it would work, I swear. So, so here's my portfolio page. And you can see here's services page that doesn't exist. I can go back, I can create it. If I click on the welcome page, it goes back to the welcome page. And obviously the pages will look much different. One last thing, if I zoom way out, you can actually see there is no background. Now, I would have to establish that in the program or in a separate one, but I'm not going to worry about that because this image is supposed to be the background and no one's probably going to zoom out that far. So I'm just going to leave it like this, okay? So there's my web page. I hope you learned a lot. Good luck.